Welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for watching and listening to the words that God has given me to say to you. Just to let you know that I am Father Joseph Skelton Jr. I am a priest of the Diocese of Tagbilaran in Bohol, and I'm assigned as the Assistant Parish Priest of Santa Monica Parish in Albuquerque, Bohol. So hopefully you will come and visit in Bohol and experience the wonderful, beautiful paradise. I call it a paradise on earth, Bohol. So I know we're in Cebu. I don't want to have any fights with anyone about Cebu or Bohol, but I'm a little bit prejudiced because I enjoy being there in Bohol. But of course, I enjoy being here in Cebu, where we're able to share the good news through this particular broadcast, this television program. So we had, in the first segment, we spoke about how the Lord has given us examples so that we can model ourselves after these examples, if you will, of love. And then they're called the saints. The saints, each one of them have their own unique stories that shows forth and proclaims God's love. And today, or at least in this particular subject, this particular segment, I like to go to another saint who was very inspiring, to say the least. And I must admit, he's probably one of my favorite saints of all times. And his name is Saint Thomas More. Saint Thomas More was a man, a regular man, meaning he was not a priest. He was not a theologian. He was not someone involved heavily in the church. He was a typical man who was a lawyer, and more than just a lawyer, he was really exalted or elevated to the office of Chancellor of the Kingdom. This is during King Henry VIII, the notorious King Henry VIII, and so as he was the chancellor of that particular kingdom in England, he had the responsibility of taking care of the documents that the king would have to issue, maybe a dialogue between countries, or maybe even edicts or particular proclamations that would be for the kingdom. And it would be his duty, of course, is to construct it and even to sign his name to it and to affix the seal of the king. So he would even keep the seal of the king at times if it was necessary. So there was a lot of trust that King Henry VIII had with Thomas More. He was a married man, he had children, and they lived a pretty comfortable life, and he was so happy about that. But then it came a time when King Henry VIII he got tired of his first wife, Queen Catherine, and because he saw another woman, I think it was Anne Boleyn. He liked her much better. He was getting excited about this woman that was around in the court, and he wanted to somehow to get out of the marriage between he and Catherine. Well, of course, Catherine was a very kind woman. She very religious, and of course, everyone was Catholic in that kingdom at that time. And so she prayed a lot. But King Henry VIII, he wanted something different. And so he tried to get a divorce. Of course, there was no divorce. And so he thought, I need an annulment. That this first marriage was not a real marriage. That there was an impediment to the marriage. So as although he had one child, one child came from that marriage, and that was Mary. But as he tried to get out of the marriage, he had to concoct and think of some type of way to get out of it. And eventually he came to a point when the Pope would not grant his wish of an annulment with his wife. He said, who's the head of the Church of England? Is it some Pope in Rome? Or are we the head of the Church of England? And so he had this particular edict, and it was supposed to be signed by all the different leaders, religious leaders, and even his council, and of course even the chancellor, that two things, that the first marriage, his marriage with Catherine was not a real marriage, that it was something wrong with it, and therefore he needs an annulment. And the second was that he was the head of the Church of England. Well, St. Thomas More, he said something very interesting. He said before they beheaded him, because they tried to convince him, they put him in prison, tried to convince him, just sign the paper, just sign it, doesn't matter. Say that the first marriage was not a real marriage, and just say that King Henry is the head of the Church of England, and then you save your life, you save your family, you save your livelihood, you have everything that you need. But because St. Thomas More was an honorable man, and a man that was filled with love, he loved God so much. He loved God even more than his wife and children. And so he said, well, if you're asking me to sign this paper that has to do with the marriage between King Henry and Queen Catherine, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about whether it's legitimate or not. I wasn't, in one sense, I wasn't there. I don't know whether there was any impediments. But if you're asking me to sign it where it says that the king is the head of the Catholic Church, of the church, then I cannot. I am the king's faithful servant, but God's first. Wow, that was profound. He said, I am the king's faithful servant, but God's first. Meaning that he could not sign that paper. He could not tell a lie. He could not. He said, it will be only a lie if I said that the king is the head of the church here in England. No, it is the Pope, the vicar of Christ, the one that Christ has put on the throne of Peter. He is the one who is in charge of Christ's church here on earth. So who am I to say that the king, because he has lots of power, because he has horses and warriors, that he is the head of the church? No, not at all. And so, people of God, the reason why I was so inspired, and I am still inspired by the story of St. Thomas More, is because this was a man who put love into action. Sometimes when you are a true lover, it means that you may have to go through sacrifices. True love entails sacrifice. There are some people who say, wow, I just want to do what everybody else is doing. It's very Lingao over here, Lingao Jude. And then, yet, that's not where that person should be. So, someone who really loves God and is putting love into action, he or she will know what is the place that they should be in, what position they should take. Always the way in which God has commanded. Why do I say that? Because the scripture is very clear. Jesus says that if you love me, then you'll follow my commandments. See, we think that love, there are times we think love is just that googly feeling, this warm feeling inside, and it's almost like listening to a beautiful song, and it just feels so warm. And that's not what the Lord is saying. He said, the Lord said that if you love me, you will have to do something. Follow my commands. Commands. So what is it that St. Thomas inspires us to do? Is to always speak the truth in love. He went to his death. They even sent his daughter. His daughter came there and said, Papa, please just sign the paper. And then you'll spare us from all the hardships that will come because of your decision. But he said, I cannot. And in fact, you're the devil. You're Satan trying to take me away. No, I must always be true to God because I love him so much. How many of us can do that? How many of us can actually say that I will go against what the crowd is doing because even though it may be wrong, it's popular. We see this today. We have those who are for things that are not godly. And there are those who are saying that because the majority they're doing this, that means, well, it's okay anyhow. Why don't I just join them? No, real love is following the commands of the Lord. That's why the church cannot waver in certain subjects and things, especially some moral issues. She cannot just say, okay, well, it's okay to do these type of things if since everybody else is doing it. No, the church cannot do that. The church cannot say, well, because the times are changing and our mentalities, our values are changing. The church has to change with the world in that sense, so that it's okay now. What was bawal, what was forbidden before, is okay now according to the world, so we might as well follow suit. Well, that's not what the church can do at all. The church has to follow the commands of the Lord. Whether individuals like it or not, we must do that, only because if we say we love the Lord, we have to follow his commands. We must do his will. So look to the saints. I hope that you'll get a chance to read the story of St. Thomas More and all that happened during that time. Some of you may or may not know that King Henry, he ended up having 6 wives before he died. Now, of course, not all together, but he ended up having 6 wives. Because, of course, one did not give him a male child. He wanted a male heir. But the thing is that if he would have stayed the course of loving God, the King, with his whole heart, mind, and soul, and followed the teachings of the church, he would have been a great man in history. He's a unique man in history, but he would have been even a great man in history, like St. Thomas More. As we go to the next segment, I hope that you will stay with us. We're going to go on a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about a third saint, and hopefully she will inspire each of us as well. But we want to go to the saints because they do help us to live lives of love. What's love got to do with it? Well, with their lives, everything. It has everything to do with their lives.